then let's go. So, Timeon, welcome to Coffee and Conversations with Champions. It's awesome to have you. We spoke to your brother yesterday, and we believe you've been bullied into talking to us. So, tell us a little bit about that. Welcome, man. Can you give us a little bit of a background as to who you are?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure. Um, so currently, I'm 18 years old. I am competing in the African scene in the junior strongman. In powerlifting, junior lasts till 23. In
Mm,
strongman, it's only till 18. Um, and I've competed in three competitions now. I've placed second in two of them and I've won one. Um,
awesome.
I'm currently prepping for Africa's Strongest Man, which is 10 weeks from now. It's on the 15th and 16th of November, so I'm very excited for that. And yeah, the way I got into strongman was just my brother's always done some form of weight training, resistance training, and it looked fun, so I started. And strongman is a really fun sport.
Cool.
So
What about it is so much fun for you?
well, see, I'm going to say a lot of things, and it applies more to how strongman used to be because it's become a bit commercialized where you see the same movements the whole time. But the idea behind
Mm,
strongman is to eliminate technique, eliminate all the fancy stuff, and just see who can produce the most force, who is truly the strongest. Because powerlifting, that kind of sport, it's a good test of who's the strongest, but a lot of it is technique and that type of stuff. You don't see people winning powerlifting squatting high bar. You don't see people
mhm.
benching with close grip. And that kind of thing doesn't really happen in strongman, especially sumo. That's always been an issue. Um, but yeah, no, as I said, it's the best way to find who can produce the most force in a very specific way,
Mhm.
and that really appeals to me.
So you mentioned sort of that it's not the way that it used to be because old school strongman, sort of the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah,
each event had new things that the athletes had to do, whether it
yeah.
was carry a
There
Volkswagen
was always a
Beetle
new event.
or yeah. Yeah. So what about that
Yeah,
has changed now?
yeah.
What?
I think it was somewhere in the early 2000s.
Mm,
If you go on Wikipedia, just for example, and you look at medal histories with athletes, if you look at any strongman from before, say 2005, they'll have maybe 8 medals because it's the continental competitions and the international competitions. And after that, it looks like other sports where you'll find athletes with 40 plus medals because you get all the different competitions. And with every
yes.
competition that's added, you can't really be as unique with every competition. And that's where records and that type of thing come into play, where you have to repeat certain events quite a lot so that people have opportunities to break records and that type of thing. So a lot of it is more streamlined, a bit more commercial, but it's still fun. Still
Okay.
very nice.
Awesome. What made you sort of pick? Was it the that raw strength aspect versus powerlifting, Olympic lifting, other types of sports?
Well, part of it is definitely the raw strength. Part of it is 100% my brother was already doing it. So it was
Okay.
simply easier than choosing a new sport that I now have to go to. Um, Also, my brother was getting all the sorts of equipment and I wanted to try them out. And after 6 weeks of trying to get good at a log press, you kind of want to do a log press competition. It's
Yes,
because it's such a
absolutely.
niche thing.
So tell us about the
Yeah.
competitions you've competed in so far.
So my first competition was the SA Log and Deadlift Championships, which was in March of this year, 2nd of March, which is essentially it's only two movements. Traditionally, it's three. It's the log press, the axle press, and the
Mm.
deadlift. But this year there were only the two. So the log press is essentially just a thick piece of steel, probably this thick. I mean, if you put it on your chest, you can't even breathe because it's so
Hmm.
heavy and so thick. And essentially, you just pick it up off the ground, roll it up your chest, and press it overhead. And I do that with a split jerk just because I found that it works best. And recently, I've seen a lot of people saying you shouldn't split jerk a log because of balance, but it works for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And then the second
everybody's
movement is
different, right? Physiologically or type.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and then the second movement is just the deadlift, which is just the standard deadlift.
Right.
And at that competition, I placed second. I tied for first in the log, and I came third in the deadlift, and so second place. And then my second competition was Western Cape Strongest, which is a provincial competition, um, where we had, I think, 5 events. Yes, 5 events. There was once again there was a max deadlift and a max log press, but we had other movements like a sled push, a yoke, which is just a
Mm-hmm.
really heavy thing you put on your back and walk with. We had a farmer's carry, and we had a truck pull, which I actually was surprisingly good at.
Okay,
So
cool.
that was quite fun. And then my third competition, because for this year they ran two log and deadlift championships. Usually there's only one per year, but this year there were two. And this time I won the log and deadlift championships, where I
Awesome.
came first in the log, where I actually set a new African record in the log press, which is 105 kilos. So I'm very
Sure.
proud of that.
Fantastic.
And then I tied for first in the deadlift. And on that day, we actually had a special opportunity on that day after the competition for setting records in the silver dollar deadlift, which
Mm-hmm.
is essentially the bar is raised 18 inches off the ground. I think that's 45 centimeters or something like that. And it's done on a deadlift bar. So it's a lot more whippy.
Mm.
So essentially, you're pulling from your knees to lock up, which is very fun to do. And on that, I managed to pull 320 and just barely got edged out
Right.
by my competitor. He got 340, but yeah, no. So I didn't feel very happy about that, but it was still a very fun experience.
Sure. And the
Um,
thing is where people, or maybe more traditional deadlifters, moan about, oh, well, it's a whippier bar, you're lifting it from a higher
yeah.
height. You're still holding that weight the whole way up.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, to be fair, in strongman we can use straps. We're
Yeah.
allowed to use straps.
But
But
still, you're
I don't
holding
have
the
figure eight
weight.
straps,
Yeah.
and I'm only single wrap my straps, so I will definitely say yes. It's
Yeah.
hard to hold
It,
the
it,
weight up.
to hold
Um,
over 300 kilos is pretty good, even with straps.
yeah.
So,
But yeah,
yep.
I remember my knees were completely destroyed after that day, just because
Right.
of all of the scratching on my knees. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, there's an old saying that if you meet someone with messed up shins and knees and calloused hands and they talk to you about deadlifting, listen to them. So there's
Yeah.
scars that we earn. So, how is strongman in South Africa in your age category? Are there a lot of athletes or people getting involved?
So So at the moment, we have three guys that are really big in it. I've competed against one of them at every competition I've been at.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I've only seen at one competition. Um, and then there's another guy who actually he DM'd me on Instagram the other day and he asked me to write him a program because he wants to start. So
Awesome.
that's a fourth guy that's going to be starting this year. Um, he's actually his first competition will be essays. South Africa's strongest and Africa's strongest have been merged into the same competition this year for the sake of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, the guy's first competition will be at Africa's strongest man, which is a bit crazy. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, and then I've seen some other guys compete, but they were one-time competitors. Like
Okay.
for example, at the last competition, the last log and deadlift, we went to Worcester, which is a bit out in the middle of nowhere
Mm,
in the Western Cape, and there were some guys from the town that competed at the competition, but I haven't seen them at other competitions, and I'm not sure if they'll feature again. But they were there,
okay.
so
They're just sort of in for a
yeah.
bit of fun.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So you're focusing now on winning the Africa title coming up. After that,
Yes.
what are your plans?
So, as I said earlier, I'm 18 at the moment, and the division only goes up to 18 years
Hmm.
old. So, next year, I'm going to have to graduate to a weight class,
Okay.
which is a bit daunting.
Right.
So, at the moment,
Because
I'm
you
actually
you
trying
you're
to
quite
gain weight.
tall, right?
I'm 191 centimeters on a good day.
Right.
That's like 6 foot three or something like that.
Yeah. So.
Um, and so, I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to get up to 95 kilos. I'm
Hmm.
about 88, 89 kilos at the moment. So if I can get to 95 by January, February, then by the time the first competition runs around, which will be in March, I'll be able to water cut back down
Hmm.
to 90 in order to make that weight.
The weight. Okay.
And I think I'll do pretty well.
So you're doing a lot of go mad, getting that milk in, and your
Well, yeah.
squats.
Well, yeah, at the
Uh,
moment, I can't squat because the workload for prepping for this competition is just so high.
Okay.
But I have squat adjacent movements. I do good mornings and I do yoke carries and
Right.
farmers walks. So maybe a bit of squat, but sadly I can't squat at the moment. Go mad
Okay.
100% though.
Yeah.
Everyone should do go
Everybody should do
mad.
go mad. Absolutely. Milk is the secret. Forget your whey protein, hit your
It's it,
milk. Yeah.
it's the most anabolic substance on the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Just get good
yeah.
quality milk and go with the whole fat stuff. That's I was very
Yes.
chuffed when I heard your brother discuss that when we spoke. It's like, yeah, other people know this stuff. It's good. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, yeah,
what
I found out
mm,
about it when I read Super Squats, the
okay.
book.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
and it just kind of shocked me. I was like, wait a second, that much milk? uh,
Yeah. There's even, I mean, there's even more crazy program. You got your gallon of milk a day, and the guys
yeah,
that are, running that sort of for 3 months at a time, and then even
yeah,
going up to 5 gallons a day, which I think is just nuts. I don't know
yeah.
if my body could deal with that amount of
That's insane.
lactose. So
Yeah,
yeah. I think for the guys who are able to put down a lot of water, that's something that they like to look at. But I think it's you're going to reach a negative sort of return on just how much work your
yeah.
body's having to do.
At some point, it's going to start biting back. Yeah.
You don't want to be in an
Yeah.
elevator with that guy. Uh,
No.
so if
No.
we can chat about it, can we chat a little bit about your diet, sort of your nutrition?
Sure. Sure. So over the last while, I've pretty much just been eating whatever I want, and
Mm,
then if I at the end of the day reckon I haven't eaten enough, then I'll just go and eat more. But what I want doesn't mean unhealthy.
yeah.
So I do actually eat quite healthy, especially in the run up to a competition. I think then it becomes a bit more unhealthy with eating like between 500 grams and 800 grams of pasta on a day. Um, that's not great for you, but it
You mean
helps
a
you gain
meal?
weight and it's
Sorry.
energy. So,
Yeah, you mean a
yeah.
meal, not a meal.
No, no, I
No.
mean just like throughout the day, I'll just eat
Yeah,
that
yeah.
much pasta added to the rest of the food.
Yeah, for sure.
But but at the moment, I've kind of adopted the basic diet set out on Super Squats just because it worked last time I was on it, so I'm doing it again.
Mm,
Which is it's about 400 to 500 grams of meat, a liter of milk, and then two fruits, two vegetables, six slices of bread, and 180 grams of cheese. But sometimes I substitute that out for other types of dairy products like
hmm.
butter and yogurt. Um, Depending on how I feel, depending on how much cheese I have in the fridge, because 180 grams, you run out of the block in like 3 days.
Yes.
Um, and then with meals, whenever I eat the meat, I'll just, have a starch and that'll quickly balloon up to between 4,500 and 5,000 calories a day. Um, so that's what I do on the day to day basis. But yeah, no, it's
Awesome.
not easy. I remember last time I was on the diet, I tried to go full cheese, and every day at 11 o'clock, I'd start with my block of cheese, and then by 12 o'clock, I'd still be busy because it's so disgusting. Yeah,
I, that's really, I think,
yeah,
within strongman, because you need to get in the calories just for the fuel and for the tissue repair to build new tissues. Is it
yeah.
harder the dieting or is it harder training?
The training is definitely hard,
Mm,
but the diet, I think, is it depends what you put in your diet. So it can go either way. At the moment, I'd say the diet's probably harder than the training, but that's probably just because the diet makes the training easier because I
yes,
can recover between days. Um, but yeah, at the moment, diet is definitely harder.
right, 100%. Because I mean that's constant, right? Your training's just for a few hours a day. The diet is all day.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, you have to constantly be aware of what you have to eat. You can't wake up in the morning and think, oh well, I'm not hungry now. No, it's like you have to eat immediately after waking up. Otherwise, you're not going to eat for 4 hours, and then you're going to have
yeah,
to jam all that food into dinner.
into the next meal, absolutely. So focusing on nutrition, focusing on your training, being aware of how your body's reacting and growing, you're developing a self-awareness, and it really very focused on being optimal and being healthy. So what would you say to other young guys and girls why they should get involved in the sport? What are the benefits?
Well, Um, Getting involved in a sport, as in competing in it, is very different from training something and
Hmm.
exercising, right? So most people, I wouldn't say get involved in the sport because that's an extra step, right? That's like after a few months of exercising. Um, but to people who want to get into the sport, I'd say you can. It's just a matter of working hard enough, whether that's
Right.
in diet, whether that's in training. You just got to put your mind to it. In Afrikaans, we say the city skouer aan die wiel, just put the shoulder against the wheel. It's like you got to push
Yeah.
against the the thing. Um,
Right.
and so it's just hard work. And as it comes to diet, knowing what you eat, a lot of people make it seem like it's very hard. It's not really that hard to just be conscious of what you're eating. The eating itself is the hard part. But knowing, well, this is healthy, this isn't, and this is enough, and this isn't,
Mm.
it's pretty easy. It's very
Pretty good
simple. You just
common
have to
sense, right?
kind of
Yeah.
think about it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Um,
less processing, the better for you.
yeah, mostly. I mean, cheese is very pasteurized, and
Mm.
pasteurized milk is very processed, but nonetheless, it's ultra processed foods that are really bad for you.
Yeah.
You know, like bread is processed, but it's not gonna kill you if you have a slice.
Absolutely.
Um,
Where a
yeah,
glazed donut, on the other hand, may not be so
yeah,
good.
exactly. It's very different. Yeah, it's like 20
100%.
different processes. At that point, it's a bit much.
When there's more than 40 ingredients and you can only understand two of them, it's a problem on the label.
Yeah. Well, for me that doesn't apply because I did chemistry in high school,
Okay.
so I know what most of the chemicals are. So it doesn't
Right.
work for me.
Okay. So it makes it even worse though, because you know really what's going
Even
in
though it's
to the system.
Yeah.
So you chat a little bit about your training. What does your training routine look like?
So at the moment, I'm training 4 times a week. I've been to 5 times, been to three
Mm.
times. 4 times just kind of seems to work for me very well. So it's Monday and then Tuesday, so 2 days after each other, and then Wednesday's off, and then Thursday and Friday together.
Hmm.
And then Saturday is a day for cardio, and Sunday is off because
Right.
sadly, as a strongman, I have to do cardio. Um, Even though I hate cardio, I still have to do it. Um,
Yeah. You
it's
need
the
a
worst
big
part of
engine.
training.
Right. So
Yeah.
what is your
Um,
favorite exercise and what's your least favorite exercise?
Ash. So favorite exercise, it's definitely the squat. I just love the
Mm.
squat. It's the best exercise. People say it's bad. Some people like to leg press and then they don't squat, which I think is stupid. The squat is just the greatest exercise. It doesn't
Nothing
just build your
beats squat.
legs. It builds
Yeah.
your abdomen, builds your
Yeah.
upper body. It literally inflates the chest if you do it properly.
Hmm.
Um, and then least favorite exercise. It's not really an exercise, but my least favorite movement is the
Mm.
yoke carry.
Okay.
It's painful. It doesn't make you better at anything other than doing yoke carries.
Yeah.
It's literally just putting something heavy on your back and walking with it.
Yep.
It's painful and not fun, and it feels like a waste of time. It's a good way to display strength, but not a good way to gain strength.
So, yeah.
So, yeah.
So you'd rather do a farmer's carry for strength gain.
Yeah, farmers are better. Although they hurt my hands quite a lot because you have
Right.
to, when you do a farmers, you don't just grip with your fingers, you kind of roll
Yeah, you
your
got to roll
skin
in.
here on your
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
into it. You
So
grip
it bites
underneath
it.
and then you pull your hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly, you're
So
getting as
that's
much
quite
grip
painful.
off. Yeah.
It's better than the yoke. Yeah.
Absolutely. So for your sake, is there anything else that you would like to talk about or share?
Um, well, one thing is, I kind of think I'd like to put my mission statement out there.
Go for it.
So I'm competing in strongman, and it's a really fun sport. And one of the things that I appreciate about strongman is the fact that everyone is very open about their drug use.
Hmm.
Everyone uses some sort of performance enhancing drug. Everyone is on something, and everyone is open about it. There's no hiding it. Whereas you look at 99% of sports, you can pretty much determine everyone is on something, but no one will admit it to you. Which, I mean, it's not exactly their fault they can't admit it to you. If they do say something, they'll get banned or get stripped of a title or something like that. But nonetheless, it's a very open sport. Now, I'm a natural competitor. I don't take anything. I don't even take creatine away. That's not even me
Mm.
thinking that it's a PED. I just don't want to buy it. I think it's a waste of time. Um,
You'd rather get milk.
Yeah, I'd rather get milk. It's better. It's more.
Yep.
I mean, it tastes better. You
Yep.
can't tell me whey and creatine taste better than milk.
No.
Um, but I, as a natural competitor, my mission statement, and a lot of people think that this is impossible. I am planning on beating all of the guys out there who are on something, who are taking something, in order to prove that you can compete and you can win as a natural athlete. It's not necessary to go out there and pin yourself with a needle in order to make yourself stronger because you can already reach those peaks.
Yes.
When it comes to something like static movements, like just a deadlift, I'll probably never be able to win a deadlift event at a
Hmm.
world class level just because it's a static event. Most of the guys who are on gear are just 100% better at static strength. But where I can win is movements.
Yeah.
And that's something like keg loading or a power medley where we move sandbags or a truck ball. That's the type of thing I can win. Um, and I'm out here to try and prove to the world that you don't have to go on drugs. You don't have to sacrifice 20% of your life in order to get stronger, in order to get bigger, because you can do it without doing that. It
And
takes a bit
also,
longer,
yeah,
but you'll get
yeah,
there.
and also not to risk an addiction, because it does,
Exactly. Yeah.
I get to spend a lot of time in rehab centers. I've been sober for nearly 18 years. And a lot of the kids and the younger guys that are in there, it started with steroids and just progressed from there. Because
Yeah.
everyone can say they're going on a 3 month cycle, but when everyone's telling you how great you're looking. And again, that's training for aesthetics, not even sports performance. But I think
Yeah.
one thing that people also miss when you're not doping, what I've experienced, the athletes who don't dope take far more care of themselves in terms of their nutrition
Yeah.
and their recovery in addition to their training, because you have to,
Yeah. No,
you
yeah,
know.
definitely. I mean, you don't see things like double bicep tears in natural athletes. You see it amongst guys who want copious amounts of steroids. Like
Yes.
you don't see. I mean, it does happen, of course, but it's incredibly rare. You don't see
Hmm.
muscle tears or that type of thing amongst natural athletes. Um, Part of it is because of self-care.
Yes.
Part of it is also that your tendons don't grow as much. As your muscles do when you're on steroids. And a lot of guys who are on steroids, because they're essentially trying to fast track themselves, they
Yes.
don't care to then go and do the thing that makes things slower, but will make them safe.
Well,
Um,
yeah, you
yeah,
outpace your body's ability to develop the tendon as it should be compared to the muscle.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Um, there's actually a YouTube channel. It's called Natty Life, where it's this guy who makes videos and exposés
Yes.
on old bodybuilders and strength athletes from the 1800s and early 1900s. It's very cool to watch because it's these guys that would get so strong that even today they'd have world class strength, and they did it
Right.
before steroids were even invented.
Absolutely. And also, if you're looking at some of the older guys like Eugene Sandow and some of the other German strongmen, Austrian strongmen, it was their lifestyle. They grew up on a farm. They were carrying stuff their whole lives. They were doing the
Exactly.
work. Their food was natural. Their environment was natural. Lots of fresh air. And I think also there was a mental health component to it as well, a mental strength, having to do hard work from very early on. They were willing to put in the time, and they really didn't understand stuff about squats or deadlifts, or they were
Yeah.
developing it as they went
Well,
along. So
well, they still had to invent things. It's like
they had,
George
yeah,
Hackinsmith who
yeah,
invented the bench press. That was only, I think, 1890,
yeah,
and Milo Steinborn that
yeah.
invented the squat in the 30s. Didn't
That
exist
well,
before that.
not only the squats, some other pretty insane squats as well. You know, and
Yeah,
then you got
well,
your
yeah, you didn't
Zercher
have the
squats.
power rack, so you had to pick it up off the ground first.
There we
Yeah,
go. Yeah, exactly. Different ways to pick up the bar. I mean, even the development of the barbell. And I think what chatting to your brother, what he mentioned he loved about the sport, it's not the weights are not so they're not perfect. A sandbag
exactly.
is dynamic. It's not static. All of these loads are not balanced. So it becomes a lot more. It's me, not just as you said earlier, the technique. So a lot of
Exactly.
fun. That's cool. So do you have a timeline for winning worlds natural?
Well, I'll see what happens. I'm not
Mm.
sure. Definitely a component of it is having to go to wherever the competitions are.
Mm,
That's rough with financials.
yeah.
But this year I'll win Africa's. I don't think there's a doubt about it.
Hmm.
And next year in the under 90 kilos, I think I'll get a medal in the 90s. I'm not sure if I'll win, but
Right.
based on my strength, based on the amount of strength I can gain from gaining body weight, I think I can. I think I can make the podium. Um,
Awesome.
and we'll see what happens after that. Because if I get a medal, then I think that gives me an invite towards.
Okay.
But there's also natural worlds, which is a cool thing to go to. But I'm not all that concerned about going to natural worlds, where I'll probably have to confront a bunch of fake natties instead of going to the guys who are at least open about their drug
Yeah.
use. So I'm not all that excited about going to a natural competition because it's not
Mm,
natural; it's tested.
mm, mm.
Um, but I'll see what happens. Next year, definitely Africa's again, and maybe Worlds. Of course, when you compete in Africa's, you qualify for the Worlds competition for the next year, not for that year,
Okay.
in strongman at least. So if I win Africa's this year, that means I'll qualify for novice juniors next year, but I won't be able to compete in it. So if I win under 90s next year, that means I'll qualify for 2026
Okay.
90s under 90s Worlds.
Right.
So it's all offset by a year, but we'll see what happens. I think I'll win next year,
Good
but the
prep
year after
time.
that
Yeah.
is
100%. But
yeah. I
listen,
mean, it's enough
yeah.
time.
Yeah, love your game plan and your goals because it's important, and it's vital to showcase that you can win naturally. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and with maybe a little bit longer commitment, but you're not willing to risk your health and your future for something now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in a
Well,
generation where guys were taking ridiculous stuff just to look good on the beach. And now, when they were in their
yeah.
30s and 40s, they started to develop health problems that will affect them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So just not worth it.
Well, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
uh,
I wouldn't say completely not willing to sacrifice my health now because I mean I have gotten injured before.
okay.
And
Well, yeah, but that's different.
I,
That's
I,
fine.
I was willing to explain it away, but that is a bit different, you know.
Yeah.
I tore my meniscus, but then once again, I just stopped squatting and I focused on specifics of how to heal it, and it went away in
Yes.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Take advantage of it while you're at this age, the healing, and learn from it.
yeah, exactly.
Because the
Yeah,
injuries as we get older tend to be a little bit more serious. But as you said, you can train an injury to recovery far
exactly.
better. Yeah, and it's about being
Most
willing to do
people
that work.
take time off, which is not good, especially with
No,
something like cartilage. You need to do
no.
because how do you heal? How do you heal?
Yeah,
It's red blood cells going through the area delivering
that's it.
oxygen,
Yeah,
and you don't get that blood movement if you just lie around all the time. So you
that's
have
it.
to do
Yeah.
some sort of movement.
So you need the blood in
Yeah,
and you need the blood out. You need that synovial fluid moving around that joint capsule to nourish and to heal. Absolutely. So that's
exactly.
cool. All right.
Yeah.
So, are you looking at coaching as well, or are you just going to be competing for now?
So at this point, I'm not really looking into coaching. When I was at school, every now and then a few people would approach me and ask me, "How do I get strong? How do I get big?" And then I'll tell them a few
Mm.
things to do. And then in the weeks after that, then I'll kind of check up with them every now and then. Um, Sadly, not all of them listen to me. I think only one of them actually listened to me, which is a big
Yeah.
problem with coaching. And
Well, I was
that's
going to say
probably
that
the
now you're a
biggest thing
coach.
that makes
Yeah.
me that I don't want to do coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, by accident.
Yeah.
But there's one guy who listened to me and he got some results, he got bigger. I just
Okay.
put him on starting strength, which is just bench, squat, deadlift, rows, overhead press, and you just do them
Yeah.
for 3x5s and you add weight. Um, which, I mean, it worked for him. And then, like I said, there's the one guy who's hoping to join the strongman
Mm.
who I wrote a program for. I'm not sure if he listened to me. I haven't met him in person, but we'll see what happens. Every time I try and write someone, I write someone a program. It's not because I want to like branch out and make a business out of it. It's just
Mm.
it's someone I know who's asked for help, so why not give it to them? Um,
100%. Excuse me.
I'm not all that concerned in becoming a coach, but my future plans are actually next year I'm going to go study theology at
Okay.
University of Stellenbosch, so I can become a pastor, a preacher. So
Awesome.
that's my end of goal. But potentially, if I have a church and if there's a back room, I might put in a weight room there's always a possibility, and then maybe
Yeah,
have it like a youth outreach or something like that. That'd be nice,
that'll be
but
right. Yeah.
that's secondary.
Listen,
Yeah,
we have a development academy where we train and support youth from disadvantaged communities through our gyms,
sure.
and it's life changing. Particularly, I mean, for young men, very specifically in terms of developing self belief and self worth and self value, and for the ladies, for the young girls, when they discover how strong they can get and how strong they are, that carries through to every aspect of their lives. So definitely a weight room at the back of the church is a good idea. You could call it mass,
Yeah,
not Catholic mass. Maybe I.
yeah, yeah,
A good name for a gym.
yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's important. It's important to have that kind of goal,
Mm,
especially for young people. And then, lifting weights, it's just a way to get that goal because it gives you very specific increments. It's not like other sports where it's kind of vague how you reach
mm,
different levels of things because it's very specific. Oh, I just broke a 100-kilo barrier, or I just broke a 100-pound
yes.
barrier, and whatever lift I'm doing. It's very specific and it's easy to track your progress because you have numbers. So,
And that's very valuable for the athlete, particularly those who are struggling that we found from disadvantaged areas, where they can portray it teaches delayed gratification and it teaches working
exactly.
towards something you want to achieve. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
I mean, I remember I was stuck, my deadlift, I was stuck at 180 kilos for, how long was it? I think it was 8 months. The first
Okay.
time I pulled 180 was last year, August, and I couldn't pull more than that until this year, June or
Yeah.
July.
Sure.
Um, and then the way I got past it is I just started doing deficit deadlifts,
Mm-hmm.
and then one day it just shot up because I got my deficit deadlift heavier than my conventional,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the first competition back I pulled 220, and that was such a big thing because I've been struggling with this for so long. The fact that it got stuck for so long made the 220 so much better. It made it
Yes.
feel so much sweeter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great lesson as well to share. So, sure. Timmy, and it's been epic chatting to you, dude. We really appreciate your time.
No, thanks. No, I appreciate you having me on your show, and I'm gonna
Oh,
go ask my mother to give me a bit more of a warning before she puts me on
good.
things.
So, gold star, gold star. So, but then
Yeah,
we can also we want to chat to you either before or after the Africas because I think that'll be epic just to
sure.
see how it went and just to track how it's going for you winning, moving towards winning worlds clean. That's going to be fantastic to watch.
Yeah,
Huh? So, yeah. Thanks,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Well, anything just before we wind down that you'd like to share?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said what I needed to say. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. I'm going to end the recording and then I'll just say goodbye. So thank you so much.